How often do we forget the scars etched by history? Does the Afghanistan war ring any bells? Yes, we're talking about a conflict that was once the center of global attention, a war that has since been shrouded in the shadows of more recent global events. The Afghanistan War, a significant chapter in modern history, seems to have been relegated to the back pages of our collective memory. This war, with all its complexities and contradictions, was not only a military conflict. It was a social, political, and cultural upheaval that affected millions of lives, not just in Afghanistan, but across the globe. Yet as we move forward, it seems as though this crucial piece of history is being gradually forgotten. The headlines have moved on, the world's attention has shifted, and the Afghanistan war, for many, has become a distant memory. But why is this so? Perhaps it's the relentless pace of our 24-hour news cycle, where stories come and go with rapidity, leaving little room for reflection. Or maybe it's the sheer volume of global events that demand our attention, pushing older issues into obscurity. Or it could be a matter of distance, both geographical and emotional, that causes us to forget conflicts that don't directly impinge on our daily lives. But forgetting comes at a cost. It means overlooking the lessons that history offers us. It means ignoring the voices of those who lived through these events, those who carry the scars of this war. It means failing to recognize the ongoing impact of this conflict on Afghanistan and the world at large. When we forget, we risk repeating the errors of the past. We risk undermining the sacrifices made by countless individuals. We risk diminishing the significance of events that have shaped our present. So, let's delve into the history of this forgotten war and why it deserves our attention. Let's remember Afghanistan, not as a distant memory, but as a vital part of our global narrative. Let's dust off the pages of history and give this war the recognition it rightly deserves. Because in remembering, we learn, we grow, and we strive for a better future. The roots of the Afghanistan war trace back to the Cold War era. When the world was divided into two ideological blocs, Afghanistan found itself in a precarious position, sandwiched between the two superpowers. The year was 1979, when the Soviet Union, fearing the spread of Islamic fundamentalism on its southern borders, decided to invade this rugged, mountainous nation. This invasion marked the beginning of a brutal, decade-long war that would see the Soviet Union pitted against the Afghan Mujahideen, a group of guerrilla fighters backed by the United States and other Western nations. The war was unrelenting, with each side inflicting and enduring heavy losses. However, the Soviets ultimately withdrew in 1989, leaving behind a nation scarred by conflict and on the brink of civil war. The power vacuum left behind by the Soviets was filled by various factions vying for control. It was a time of chaos, uncertainty, and rampant warfare. In the midst of this turmoil, a new force emerged, the Taliban. Formed in the early 1990s, the Taliban was initially seen as a stabilizing force. They promised to restore order and implement a strict interpretation of Islamic law. By 1996, they had seized control of the capital, Kabul, and much of the country. Yet, under the Taliban's rule, Afghanistan became a haven for international terrorists, including Osama bin Laden and his al-Qaeda network. The Taliban's oppressive regime and their refusal to hand over bin Laden to the United States, following the 9/11 attacks in 2001, led to the subsequent US invasion, marking the beginning of the Afghanistan war as we know it today. And then, the world watched as the stage was set for a new chapter in this war. The dawn of the new millennium brought a new phase in the Afghanistan conflict. As the world celebrated the advent of the 21st century, the specter of war loomed large over the rugged terrains of Afghanistan. A series of events, set in motion by the tragic attacks on September 11, 2001, would forever change the course of the country's history. In the wake of the 9/11 attacks, the United States, supported by a coalition of international forces, launched an invasion of Afghanistan. The objective was clear: to dismantle al-Qaeda, the terrorist organization behind the attacks, and to overthrow the Taliban regime that was providing them safe haven. The initial stages of the war saw significant developments. The Taliban, who had ruled with an iron fist since the mid-90s, were swiftly ousted from power. The capital city of Kabul fell to the coalition forces in November 2001, marking a turning point in the conflict. In the years that followed, efforts turned towards nation building. A new Afghan government was established under the leadership of President Hamid Karzai. Infrastructure was rebuilt, schools were opened, and for a moment there was a glimmer of hope for a stable and democratic Afghanistan. Yet the reality on the ground was far more complex. Despite the overthrow of the Taliban, the country remained in the grip of instability. Insurgency groups continued to operate, launching attacks on both local and foreign forces. Corruption was rife within the new government, further exacerbating the challenges of nation building. The Afghanistan war in the 21st century became a quagmire of geopolitical interests, tribal conflicts, and a seemingly unending cycle of violence. The world watched, often with a sense of helplessness, as the conflict dragged on year after year, claiming countless lives and leaving a nation in ruins. However, the end of the war was far from sight. Fast forward to today, and Afghanistan is still grappling with the aftermath of this war. The dust of conflict may have settled, yet the nation remains entangled in a web of instability and uncertainty. In the power vacuum left by departing foreign forces, the Taliban, a group we'd hoped was consigned to history, has resurged with a vengeance. They've reclaimed vast territories, casting long shadows of fear and oppression over lives that had just begun to hope for peace. The whispers of their harsh regime echo ominously in the streets, in homes, in the hearts of the Afghan people. The violence is relentless, an unending cycle that spawns fresh horrors with each sunrise. Bombings, shootings, and abductions are grim realities etched into the daily life of this nation. Men, women, and children are caught in the crossfire, their hopes and dreams shattered by the deafening roar of gunfire and explosions. And then there's the humanitarian crisis. Millions of Afghans, more than a quarter of the population, are facing acute food insecurity. Children with hollow eyes and gaunt bodies tell a heart-wrenching tale of hunger and despair. Basic healthcare is a luxury, education a distant dream, and safety a fading memory. Yet, as Afghanistan bleeds, the world seems curiously indifferent. The spotlight of international attention that once illuminated the plight of this war-torn nation has dimmed, leaving it shrouded in darkness. The Afghanistan war, once front-page news, is now buried deep within the labyrinth of forgotten conflicts. The global community appears to have moved on, their focus shifted to other pressing issues. But the people of Afghanistan don't have that luxury. They continue to live and die in the shadows of a war that the world seems to have forgotten. Despite the magnitude of the crisis, the world seems to have moved on, leaving Afghanistan in its wake. Why should we remember a war that seems so distant and disconnected from our everyday lives? Indeed, it is a question that merits contemplation. The Afghanistan war, though seemingly remote, holds profound lessons for us all. It is a stark reminder of the devastating effects of conflict and the enduring resilience of the human spirit. This war, like all wars, should not be relegated to the annals of forgotten history. Remembering the Afghanistan war is to acknowledge the immense sacrifice and suffering of the Afghan people. A nation plunged into decades of conflict, their struggle is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Their stories, their bravery, their resilience should not be forgotten, but rather held up as a beacon of hope amidst despair. Moreover, remembering the war is to learn from the past. It is to understand the complexities of international relations, the severe consequences of foreign intervention, and the intricate dance of power and politics. The Afghanistan war is a case study in these matters, a lesson that can inform future decisions, preventing us from repeating the same mistakes. And let's not forget the need for international solidarity. The plight of Afghanistan is not just their problem, it's ours too. In an increasingly interconnected world, it is incumbent upon us to extend our empathy and action beyond our borders. We should remember the war in Afghanistan as a call to action, a reminder of our collective responsibility to promote peace, stability, and prosperity worldwide. Lastly, remembering the Afghanistan war is about honoring those who have paid the ultimate price. The soldiers who fought, the civilians who perished, their stories deserve to be remembered. Their sacrifice reminds us of the cost of war and the value of peace. Remembering the Afghanistan war is not just about acknowledging the past, but about shaping a better future. It is about learning from our mistakes, standing in solidarity with those who suffer, and striving for a world where peace is not just a dream, but a reality.